Hello, welcome all. Now that it's 10:45, let's start. But I have an announcement to make. Just after this panel, we'll have Fatih Birol joining us for a closing remarks for another 10 minutes. So stay tuned. On behalf of TÜSİAD and TÜSİAD's board, I would like to welcome you all to this panel titled Accelerating Clean Energy Transition. And I'm seeing lots of friends, lots of friendly faces here. Welcome all again, once again. I would like to start by thanking to Ministry of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change for giving us this opportunity of organizing this panel here in the Turkish Pavilion. And I have very distinguished guests, which I am sure that you know all of them from their lots of successes in their careers, in their participations, not only to the business life, but also to the social life of Turkey. I would like to start asking, I'm not going to make general comments about how important it is. Let me jump into the questions and ask the first question to Giles, the CEO of WindEurope, about the bottlenecks of green transition and how Giles would like to, how does Giles see the connections during this transition between Europe and Turkey, particularly in some specific segments like supply chains in the wind industry or rare earths as well.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to see you all Brunei'den, as you would say, in Turkey. Now, the bottlenecks to the energy transition. One of them is permitting. Public authorities are too slow and bureaucratic when it comes to giving permits to build new kit. Kit for producing energy, kit for transmitting and distributing energy, kit for storage, kit for manufacturing all of the equipment that we need. The second bottleneck is grids. We are not building enough new electricity grids in particular to transport all of the clean electricity that we are producing. In Turkey, you now have 13 gigawatts of wind energy. You will have 26 gigawatts by 2030. It's producing 11% of all of the electricity you consume today. It's very good that the government now in the new renewable energy strategy for 2035 not only has a very ambitious target. They want 120 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2035, of which 40% will be wind, but they also recognize they've got to invest big time to strengthen electricity grids in Turkey.
Thank you very much, Giles. One question, Giles, particularly about this, how do you compare the wind development versus the solar development, and how come, which ones do you think we can bet on for the future for Turkey?
You need both. Every country needs both. Some countries will have better natural wind than sun and vice versa. Even those countries should do both because they are very complementary. Yes? The sun produces a lot of energy in the middle of the day, the wind at other times of the day. The sun in the summer, the wind in other seasons. But the wind is always blowing somewhere. It's 20% of Europe's electricity supply on average, and it never goes below 5%, and some days it's up to 35%. Solar is 10% of Europe's electricity production. Both are rising, but you need to have both. And when you're building out renewables, you need to be careful to have a balanced expansion of wind and solar. You shouldn't build one more quickly than the other. If you do, you distort the profile of electricity production in your country. You distort electricity markets. There are some countries in Europe that have been building much more solar than wind in the last few years. And that has created a problem with too much electricity at certain times of the day and not enough at others, and we have negative prices, which are unhelpful.
One last question about the supply chains, not the energy part this time. What can Turkey do to be a production base for Europe in the supply chain for windmills? And by the way, how can we increase that?
Turkey already is a production base for windmills. You have 150 main companies producing components for wind energy and 350 further sub-suppliers to them. There's a particularly strong industrial base in Izmir. 80% of all of the wind turbine equipment that you manufacture in Turkey is exported to Europe. And that's great. We are very hungry for all of that equipment because we are building more and more wind farms in the rest of Europe, and we need the equipment that you're producing in Turkey. What can you do to expand your supply chain? You need a very proactive industrial policy with incentives for people to build new factories, active government support, using government funds, state aid, public development, financial institutions. The key thing is to minimize the cost of financing those new investments. And the best way to stimulate new factory investments is to say to the supply chain, look, we are going to be building so many megawatts of new wind farms every year for the next 10, 15 years. We will auction under the YEKA, your famous auction system for wind, so many megawatts every year, and that gives clarity and visibility to the manufacturers. Aha, there is going to be a big and stable market in Turkey. Therefore, we will build lots of factories because we know we're going to be able to sell the turbines that we produce in them.
Thank you very much. Now that we are talking about factories, let's talk about, let's give the word to a factory CEO. Erciyas Group's CEO, Mr. Emre Erciyas, you are active in industry, also in energy, and also in trade. So from your perspective, what should be done, and what is your vision on this green transition of Turkish industry, and particularly your businesses?
Thank you. Just like Giles said, we need to produce as much and as fast as possible this green transition products, but we have one constraint to do that. That is greenifying the raw material production. That is steel production, petrochemicals production. These all we are thinking about right now, greenifying them, which increases the prices of the steel itself, as well as this actually brings thinking towards the investors. Second thought about making these investments because they are increasing the prices of these renewable energy power plants as well as these transportation of the goods. So my suggestion would be actually to pause thinking of the greenifying of this raw material production, steel, petrochemicals and everything, and very fastly and very efficiently, immediately increase the production of these all wind power plants and these transportation, new generation transportation goods, so that we achieve we achieve our goals, and then therefore we can think about greenifying our raw material production. Just give you on some numbers. The biggest carbon emitting sector in the world after energy and heating is transportation with 15%. We immediately need to greenify and modernize our transportation system and give some new regulations to that. For example, France did a very good job on that by banning the domestic flights. We immediately need to go back to the railway system, increase the transportation in the railway industry as well as in the micro-mobility systems. Electric vehicles, batteries, we immediately need to increase our production cheaply and fastly in this sector to lower the emissions in the transportation sector, and then we can continue discussing about greenifying the rest of the production, manufacturing systems. And there is one more thing that I need to tell, is that we cannot do this alone by ourselves. As being part of the global south, we have an investment needing to catch our goals. Right now, well, in 2009 it was $100 billion, and today is $1 trillion investment needed to actually catch our goals. So every day we are postponing and not making our what's supposed to be. We are actually increasing our investment goals. And the northern investors and policymakers are actually pushing their companies and corporations for profitability, and which makes them actually U-turn and backpedaling on their ambitious goals. For example, we see lots of US, UK, European companies backpedaling on their ambitious goals, but they are forcing their companies on profitability. However, they are forcing the global south companies and countries actually to obey the regulations. That we cannot do as well. We have to act as one, as a world. One more thing that I need to tell is that the military emissions, we need to focus on that as well. Just to give you an idea how much of military operations are actually emitting carbon, is that the first 60 days of the Gaza war is emitted equivalent carbon to 75 coal-powered power plant yearly emission. And is not finishing there, but the rebuilding of Gaza, it's forecasted today, is rebuilding Gaza will be emitting carbon is equivalent to 130 countries yearly emission. So actually, there we can say that these military operations we need to slow down as well. So I can maybe finalize my speech by with a very famous thing, saying we should be focusing on making love rather than making war.
Thank you very much. One thing, given the Erciyas Group's vast area of expertise and focuses, and as you say that greenifying mobility, greenifying railroads, etc., what is in your agenda the most exciting thing nowadays? I mean, in your business, in your investments, in your plans, what excites you most?
Well, there is an ambitious target on each and every country right now on investing on the rail business, both on the transportation of the goods and the transportation of the people. For example, let me give you an update. Turkey declared very recently to increase its rail transportation ratio from 5% to 23% by 2053. It's not only Turkey is planning to do this, but all around the world we see more and more countries are actually switching back to rail business from air trafficking and normal road trafficking. So we believe that we did a good investment over there by entering into this field. It's the rail business. It's the most energy efficient ways of transportation. So and Turkey has a very great role in that, connecting Asia, Europe and Africa, 3 continents. We have a natural logistics hub. We are a natural logistics hub that gives Turkey the biggest advantage in this field.
Thank you very much. Now that we talk about wind and solar and making them in parallel to each other, then we turned to the industry and we said that the industry itself, particularly the railways and the mobility and greenifying the railways, is on top of the agenda for Erciyas Group. Now let's shift to another indispensable pillar of decarbonization, This is digitalization. And there, let me ask it to the expert and to a dear friend, to Elif Hanım.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity, and hopefully it will add insights more to where Giles has stopped the conversation. So on top of that, I think it will complement it. May I use that one, please? So, as Jill has started to explain, we are now in the era of electricity, right? And all the studies and all the investments show that the backbone of this transformation will be on wind and solar. So there's no doubt on that. It's both economically feasible and it's the right path to go. So it's there. And on the demand side, this is the situation. And on the, let's also look at the, on the supply side, it's wind and solar. But on the demand side, things are also changing. There is electrification. And the nature of the demand is also changing. Now, with electric vehicles coming along, we have now peaks and lows that we are experiencing. And so it's not only going towards new sources of supply and demand, it's also the characteristics that are changing, both on the supply side and the demand side. Now, on the supply side, we have more intermittency, right? Because of the amount of wind and solar generation. And let me provide you some numbers on that. So by 2050, our energy supply will be like 80% from renewables, and the 60% will be from intermittent sources. So think of the difficulty in managing such a power grid. Another point is that on the supply side, it will not be only intermittency, also the size of the power plants are getting smaller. And again, I would like to share with you statistics on that. In 2012, the median power plant size in Europe was 800 megawatts, okay? And by 2020, it has dropped to something like 550 megawatts, okay? And do you have any guesses of what this size will be by 2050? Any guess? So what will be the median power plant size as we move to 2050? 10 megawatts. It's actually 32 megawatts. This is the estimation. So the characteristics of the grid is changing. And in addition to that, we will need flexibility sources, meaning battery storage is going to be the leading one, other than in addition to other energy sources. And now what I'm trying to come is that the future grid, and Giles very well said that we need to invest more in the grids. That's a requirement. But you know, the way we manage the grid and the number of components in the grid is going to change. I would like to share with you another statistics here. And this has been quoted by World Economic Forum, and the study has been done by Schneider, that by 2025, we will have additional 36 million of new installations, including, let's say, battery storage, including solar power plants or EVs. And by 2030, this number will increase to 90 million a year. So now let's think about that grid, decentralized, dependent on weather, with many more number of installations on the grid. Can you imagine how we will be able to manage that grid? So do you have any idea? So we cannot do that with our current digitalization schemes that we're applying. Indeed, what we will need is a real-time operation where you are constantly forecasting the future. So what will be the supply, what will be the demand, because both power and data will be running bidirectionally. It is not like today moving from big installed capacities to supply points, but it will be a bidirectional flow of both power and data. So we need AI. That's where I'm trying to come. So we need the capabilities of AI so that we can manage the complexity of grids. So we need to predict, we need to model, we need autonomous working of the grid at the end of the day. So this is where I'm trying to come. Any comments? I don't know, but I have a few more comments to make, if that's allowed. Okay, because I want to be cautious of the time. Okay, so my primary takeaway from this is that digitalization, it has many aspects in energy efficiency, in maintenance, and you name it, in several parts of energy system and energy management. But what I'm trying to say is that it is not something complementary. It is something necessary for this transition to happen, and we need to transition or we need to be successful in energy transition so that we can reach net zero. That was my first takeaway. The second one is that whatever brings or whatever digitalization gives us, we can also install grids that are operating on its own in far areas, and this can also help for supplying electricity to many people that don't have electricity supply currently. So in Africa, for example, 40% of the population cannot reach power. So again, with help of renewable energy, with help of microgrids and digitalization to make it happen, again, we will need AI and other tools of digitalization. So energy access or equitable energy access will be possible. And Cevdet Bey, if you allow, I have one more comment to finish. So I have been, while talking about digitalization in energy, I was stating that the future energy company will actually be a technology company. Therefore, the companies should prepare themselves to be a technology company. And I don't know if you could follow, but I think it was last week that ADNOC of Abu Dhabi has announced huge investments in AI. They have an initiative called Energy AI. So it looks like it will be an internal investments, but it looks like it also will be serving the whole energy sector, and that they say that they are becoming the AI powerhouse of the energy sector. So and using cutting edge AI technology. So so my last message would be to all the power and utilities companies that they should start, we shouldn't be expecting everything from the governments. You see, we have such a saying in Turkey. So what we can do is that we can start thinking about embedding AI, making research and development on AI, so that we understand the importance of it. So thank you very much.
Elif Hanım, thank you very much. One question about the AI. I understand that AI is for the security of the power distribution. And from your comments, it's also very impressive that the power plant sizes are getting smaller.
Yes.
And getting much more dispersed all around the countries. So in that transformation, how does the battery kicks in? I mean, where is that energy storage is? Because I'm going to ask the same question, Giles, to you as well. How is that balancing? While I understand that it's an efficiency issue, there is also a balancing issue as well.
Yes, indeed. Maybe Before coming to the battery storage, I would like to say that AI should be there for not for security. When you say security, you could understand as cyber security, but that's not the case. Cyber security is required, but it is required for resilience of the power grid, so that all the supply and demand that you cannot predict, so that you can manually do something. It will be an autonomous system doing all that prediction and bringing resilience to the power grids. But coming to battery storage, again, this is an indispensable part of renewable energy in the future because of the fact that you're dependent on wind and solar, and you will not have wind and solar all the time. And again, I think it was last week in Germany, half of the, there wasn't wind, and half of the wind capacity could not be utilized. And also there wasn't no sunshine, so there was a low and the prices went high. I haven't seen a study saying if we had that much of storage, we could have, overcome this situation. But we need storage for such cases. So we need storage to manage the grid, so a grid level or a utility level storage. But in addition to that, storage will also help every one of us to be an energy player. So what I'm saying is that if you have a house, if you have, let's say, rooftop solar, if you have a battery or EV, and then if you have a small-scale battery at home, then voila, you are now a market player. I'm exaggerating, but there will be aggregators who will, aggregate us all together, and so that we will also be part of balancing of the system. I don't know if that makes sense.
Thank you very much. But before coming to the more broader sense of the justice around the energy transition, let me ask a specific question to Giles, particularly again for the battery.
Okay.
How is that battery tech, how do you see that the battery technologies are developing? Here we see an incredible Chinese impact and Chinese size. How do we balance this, I mean, in terms of technology?
So you need batteries for short-term storage, let's say 5 or 6 hours. You need other types of storage for long duration storage, and that's not batteries. That's hydro pump storage, and you have a lot of good hydro pump storage capacity in Turkey, and it's playing a very important role in helping to balance your electricity system. Hydrogen storage will also play a role in the future in long duration storage. You need both. But storage is not the only answer to how to balance variable electricity supply. You need smart grids, and you've been talking about this, balancing variable supply with more variable demand. And to ensure you have more variable demand, you need active, what we call demand-side management. You need to be incentivizing consumers to consume more electricity when there is more wind and solar and the prices are low, and to be consuming slightly less when we have less renewables and the prices are higher. And there are companies out there now in every country, in Europe and in Turkey, offering services, saying to people, we will send you a text when the power prices are low, you can turn your washing machine on. There are even some companies who will say, give us the control of your fridge, and we will turn your fridge off for a maximum of 3 hours, no more than that. And we'll do it automatically without telling you when we know that electricity prices are high. That will save you money and help to balance the electricity system.
Thank you very much for this eye-opening comment. And now I want to extend the word to a lighthouse of our industry. I mean, he had been a lighthouse to many young industrialists, and I'm counting myself as young, Ahmet Bey. And Ahmet Bey is now chairing UN Global Compactor Türkiye. And the question is, let's get from technology to a bigger perspective. Wind, solar panels, sun, those do not care about national borders at all. So, but then there are developing countries and developed countries, and that justice issue. And your comments on that, Ahmet Bey.
Well, thank you very much for the question. I'm actually very much happy to be this morning with all of you together. I think this is better, huh? It is better. Now is it now okay? No, like this. I cannot talk anymore. Well, okay. I mean, we are talking about the transition. Is it okay now? We are talking about the transition. I mean, your question that you are putting on me is actually my comments or my taking away of the question is the transition. And this is actually just transition, because we all are aware of the fact that we have actually facing really a very serious problems of the global warming and the climate change. So transition is very much important, and we are actually talking about the just transition. What does just transition means? Just transition means simultaneously and coherently addressing the three dimensions of the sustainable development, which are environmental, social, and economic, with a focus on the role of the decent work in generating sustainable and inclusive economical growth and development. For the private sector, just transition signifies reshaping both the workforce and the production processes in the transformation process. Well, hoş geldiniz efendim. Well, as we all know, Turkey has a net zero emission target for 2053. We can achieve this target through the maximum integration of the renewable energy sources into our system. Studies show that power generation from renewable energy is the most competitive option in meeting the increasing electricity demand in terms of cost, as well as the most effective way to reduce the carbon emissions. In Turkey, the share of the renewable energy in power generation is constantly increasing. Renewable energy accounted for this year, for 2024, about 63% of the electricity generation in demand in Turkey, and this percentage projected to be reached by 2053 to 90%. Well, the new Suhura report titled Net Zero 2053, the socio-economic impacts of the transition to carbon-free energy in Turkey, was recently published. According to this report, the total of 432,000 more jobs will be creating in the 2021 up to 2025 period. Up to 2055 period, under the net zero scenario. However, the report says that special attention should be paid to the next 20 years, because while new job opportunities will be creating in employment in sectors based on the fossil fuel deal decrease. So this was actually a contradiction efforts. While we were increasing the employment, on the other side we will be decreasing the fuel fuels in deployment. Considering that there will be a skills gap for the new jobs to be created, it is vital to transform the skills of the workforce during this transition period. Turkey needs strong retraining and vocational transformation programs to help the workforce adapt to new technologies and the sustainable business models. The private sector in this has a central role to play in achieving a just transition. Businesses can help Turkey navigate its energy transition equitably, ensuring that social inclusion and economic resilience are embedded in the climate action efforts. Taking this approach benefits people, but it also benefits businesses by strengthening a company license to operate and mitigating financially material risks. Companies that integrate just transition into their long-term risk management strategies can better manage climate change risk and become more resilient to the negative impacts of the climate change. International regulations such as the European Green Deal mandate the reduction of carbon emissions and transition to the sustainable business models. When companies adapt to just transition processes, they are better prepared for future regulations and minimize their financial, operational, and legal risk. The businesses can facilitate a just transition in Turkey by taking the following in the areas. First, develop a just transition plan. Create a plan that considers social and economic impacts on workers, communities, with measures to mitigate negative effects and ensure fair outcomes for all. 2, workforce and skills transformation. Prepare for workforce changes in a low-carbon economy by adopting policies such as redeployment, retirement programs, and new job creation. Maintain open communication with employees, include their input, and collaborate with them. 3, engage in social dialogue and stakeholder collaboration. Engage in social dialogue with the affected communities and participate in three-party discussions: workers, employees, civil society, and the government, to develop policies for worker support, especially for those at risk of displacement. 4, investment in local communities. Support communities impacted by the transition by contributing the social safety nets and, where possible, reinvesting in renewable energy projects to create jobs and promote community development. 5, advocate for policy and regulatory support. Support regulatory frameworks that encourage sustainable enterprises, provide incentives, and assist SMEs and vulnerable groups. And 6, last but not least, report on progress. Track and report on just transition efforts, including employment impact, community engagement, and socio-economic benefits to align with the sustainable development goals. The just transition is emerging as a powerful dynamic that will transform the future of industry and employment in Turkey. The capacity of companies to adapt to these processes will determine Turkey's success in transitioning to sustainable future, I would say.
Thank you very much, Ahmet Bey. You have provided a great framework for a just transition. And we have talked on the bottlenecks of energy transition. We have talked about this. We have talked about this transitions. Sorry. Now that we have talked about the bottlenecks of the green transition, later we have touched upon the industrial transition, and there we have touched upon particularly opportunities in railway transition in Turkey. Then with Elif Hanım, we have touched upon the AI and the importance of the AI and the digitalization as an indispensable pillar for that transition. And Ahmet Bey also provided us a very good framework about the just transition itself. Without further ado, now I will give the word to another lighthouse, to Fatih Birol, a global lighthouse for the global energy transition. Thank you very much for honoring us, and we will take you for the global.
İngilizce mi konuşuyorsun, Türkçe mi konuşuyorsun? İngilizce mi? Madam Minister, dear colleagues, a very good morning to all of you. It's a great pleasure to be here in the Turkish pavilion. I am since 5 days here, and I am very happy that I am in Azerbaijan. Leave aside the COP for 2 reasons. Many of you may know that I am traveling a lot around the world, and to go to a visit to a country and speak my own language, Turkish, is very convenient, very good. So I am very happy for that. The second thing is that whoever I talk in Azerbaijan, they all support Galatasaray. It's also very good news. So therefore, I am very happy for that. Now, dear colleagues, I would like to make only one point here, which is, I think, given the global context today, it is more than ever that the Europe and Turkey should work and can work more closely in the energy sector, and there are benefits for both sides, not only one side, for both sides. Let me try to tell you why I think it is important and why I believe that there is a need to look at the or relook at the customs union in this context. Dear colleagues, when we look at the world, we see that clean energy transition is growing fast and faster than many people realize in every sense. And this is not driven by politics. It is the economics and industrial policy. In the entire world, we see that the market size, market value of the clean energies, solar, wind, electrolyzers, electric cars are growing and growing and growing. And our numbers show that in 10 years of time, with very conservative assumptions, the market size of the clean energy economy, market size of the clean energy products, will be equal to the crude oil markets today. Big growth. In the entire trade or economy, the share of commodities will be smaller, the share of technologies will increase. And Europe has been the champion of climate change since many years, but if you ask me whether Europe was able to catch the clean energy technology race as much as it should, I wouldn't be able to say yes. Unfortunately, today, China is dominating the game big time, followed by United States, and India is coming. So therefore, for Europe's manufacturing sector point of view, it is very important for Europe to be at least to be a champion in the areas that Europe has competitive advantages. What are those? Wind energy, electrolyzers, novel heat pumps, and electricity sector, the transformers, the wires, the systems, they are all going to be very important for the next chapter. And Europe here cannot do it alone. Europe should work with counterpartners, and in my view, Turkey presents a lot of opportunities to European Union and provides a lot of complementary aspects to work together. If it is not the case, I would say that the Europe's leadership in terms of manufacturing could be at risk. Employment in Europe would suffer, and this may well have also social and political consequences. When it comes to Turkey, huge potential. We have huge potential: solar, wind, geothermal, the hydropower. I put the nuclear aside, which I believe is very important for Turkey, but from the renewables side. And here we are making a lot of good efforts, building a lot of renewable capacities, but it is still not 10% of the potential we have. So from that point of view, Turkey, in my view, not only should be interested to installing new solar or wind and others, but should be also a manufacturer, a serious manufacturer of these technologies, especially that of wind, that Turkey has a lot of opportunities to use at home, but to export. In that respect, I would like to again come back to my point. If European Union takes a new map, takes a new route, which I believe Europe will do with the new Commission coming in the next few weeks as a Commission of providing competitiveness for European economy, they should also look at how the energy industry and trade policies are harmonized, and in that context, I believe to have a European Union, Turkey economic relations coming closer, and perhaps a second look from both sides to the customs union would be beneficial for everybody. I am a believer of win-win of Europe and Turkey working together, and I think this clean energy manufacturing could be a concrete case to make it happen. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
So we come to a natural end, and thank you very much to all the participants and Fatih Birol for joining. Thank you very much.